so cool, Grandpa. So Rhinebeck, you know, N- Nico, my dad's friend. Well, his son has taken over the nursery, Rhinebeck Nurseries, and they're right in Bascoop. And we just recently sent them an order. So sent our plants back into the Netherlands. Some of Hans's plants. So the
Some,
world goes round, doesn't
they
it?
shipped these once upon a time. We
Yeah.
checked off. They come in.
Yeah.
Um, they placed to order flax, meaning new varieties. Most likely they're in Holland, shall we say, in Boodschap, Holland. They were specialists in flax there. Granted, in those days we had a neighbor here. My wife had to say uncle to him, Uncle Henry and Aunt Winnie. They had over 100 varieties too already. But for us to get started, we ordered these from Boodschap, Holland, and continued from there.
Well, essentially, I was a business major in college, and I'd even been approached by one of my professors about maybe getting into the banking industry. Although the only place I worked my entire life was Walter's Gardens ever since I was a pretty young lad. We won't get into details there. But then Grandpa asked me and says, "Would you want to join the company?" And I said, "No, sure, I'll give it a try and just see where it goes." So right after college, I joined, and I started mixing in with the staff. And if there's anything I looked at, I always looked at Springbrook Gardens out of Mentor, Ohio, as being someone that I wanted to be like, because they offered quite a vast bare root perennial line at that point. And we had a much more limited list. So I looked a lot at them, and we began, developing, those kind of relationships whereby we kind of copied what they did, maybe, or you might say we kind of emulated what they did. And at that point too, I also tried to travel a little bit more. I started traveling to Europe because I wanted to see what they were doing out there, and to some extent, that was always a source for plants for me. I developed relationships with people out there, and when you would find plants to be able to offer, because I always wanted to be known as the people that had some of the best and the newest plants. And at that time, it was mostly plants that we acquired from somebody else, whether that was like in the United States, which could have been the Olivers with Heuchera, Terra Nova, we tried to develop a relationship with, or some of our European sources, which included Luke and Hank and some of those people, and some others that go further back, like Yop Koi. And we also bought a fair amount of product from them as well, especially Astobies, where we bought out of Europe back in those days. We had been working with hibiscus hybridizers, the Fleming brothers, and they had passed on, and we had been getting some of their work. In fact, Clarence was quite instrumental with obtaining some of the varieties that we used to list in our catalog, none of which we're listing anymore. Things like Copper King and Plum Crazy and those types of things. We got to a point where the person who had inherited the business didn't seem to like us anymore, and basically we couldn't get any of the new hibiscus varieties. So actually it was Clarence that said, "Why don't we do some of our own hybridization?" And we started doing that, and that led to our first introduction, I think, from a actual hybridizing viewpoint called Summer Storm. We did have Bernera Jack Frost, but that was basically a sport that came out of Bernera lang trees from tissue culture, and other sports that we found in other hosta varieties. So that was really the beginning of our hybridizing project. And to be honest with you, I think that if there's anything that had more of a profound impact on our business, it's really being more vertically integrated from top to bottom, whereby we develop genetics, we have the production, we have the marketing, we have the shipping facilities to make it from an A to Z operation. That's been pretty profound and pretty exciting.
Today we have over 1,000 varieties listed in our catalog, with hundreds more being trialed and tested by our research and development team. In 2016, our hybridizing department introduced over 50 new varieties to the market from over 20 different genera. It is from this kind of ingenuity that we have developed relationships with major brands and companies, like Proven Winners. Our genetics are now sold all across North America, with partnerships and connections guiding them into Europe and farther.